Have you ever noticed how peaceful life is until God tells you to do something? And the moment that you even flinch to try to obey what God said, you suddenly find yourself in the middle of a spiritual storm. It's like, God, I'm just trying to do what you told me to do, which is exactly why storms happen. Spiritual storms happen to discourage people from doing what God told them to do. That's what happened to the disciples in Mark chapter 4. At the beginning of the chapter, when the story starts, Jesus gets into one of the fishing boats and he starts to preach to the growing crowds of people. And he did this all day until it was evening. And the whole time, nothing in the passage suggests that the weather was going to get bad until verse number 35, when Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us go across to the other side." So in obedience, the disciples left the crowd and they went into the boat with Jesus. And almost instantly, Mark 4 verse 37 says, a great windstorm arose and the waves were breaking into the boat and filling it with water. When Jesus was by himself in the same boat, everything was calm. But from the moment that his disciples got into the boat to go with him to the other side, everything became turbulent and the disciples started to panic. So what provoked the storm to happen wasn't just that Jesus was in the boat. It was that the disciples got into the boat with him, trying to obey what he asked them to do. It is our obedience to God that provokes spiritual storms to happen in our lives. And they happen to discourage us from pursuing what God told us to do and to make us doubt what he said. In Mark 4 verse 38, the disciples started to doubt Jesus' concern for them when they saw that he was asleep, even though their lives were at risk. And if we're being honest, we've all done this in our own way. But it says that they woke him up and they said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" So the response that spiritual storms try to induce in you is they try to make you more concerned about the threats that come with being obedient to God, rather than the assurance that God is present with you and he is faithful to perform what he said. That's why when Jesus woke up, he didn't respond to their question, but instead he demonstrated his authority over the storm that threatened them. Then when the wind was silent and the sea was still, he said to them, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?" And if I could pencil in 2 words at the end of this question, I would add, in God. Why are you so afraid of the storms that you are experiencing? Do you still have no faith in God? So you think that God has forgotten the promises that he made to you because your life feels stuck compared to the lives of the people around you who seem to be progressing at a much quicker pace. But instead of assuming that God has forgotten you, have you ever considered that God is hiding you because there's something significant on the inside of you that God won't allow to be contaminated? For example, imagine how David must have felt after being prophesied and anointed to be the next king of Israel, only to be sent back to the field to attend to his father's sheep just because he was too young to be a soldier. And so when the war with the Philistines started, despite how much he wanted to go and fight alongside his brothers, because of his age, he was forced to stay at home. Now, it wouldn't be difficult to second guess God's promises to David because of how delayed things seemed. But as uninspiring as David's life looked, let me show you why God was hiding him. Look at how God works. So in 1 Samuel chapter 17, the Philistines went to battle against the Israelites. And it says from the first day of the war, Goliath, who was their champion, would come out of the camp and he would stand on top of the mountain and he would shout across the valley and defy the ranks of Israel. The word defy means to reject authority. So what Goliath was doing when he did this was he was rejecting God's power, Israel's authority, and insulting the capabilities of their armies. And 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 6 says that Goliath did this every day and night for 40 days. And the more that the men of Israel were exposed to his words, the more they believed him and the more they became greatly afraid. So no one dared to challenge him. But there was someone who, for the duration of those 40 days, was never present on the battlefield to hear Goliath's threats. Not just because he was too young to be a soldier or because he had to attend to his father's sheep, but more importantly, because God was hiding him. And because God had hidden him, his faith in God remained uncontaminated, while everyone else had become afraid because they were exposed. That's why when everyone hid themselves because of the giant, David dared to confront him, not with a sword or a spear, but in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, who Goliath had defied. Listen to me. God has not forgotten his promises to you. He is hiding you because there's something significant on the inside of you that he won't allow to be contaminated. Because what is inside of you is destined to confront the giants around you.